Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I have a very hard time hearing the panelists, and I've lost like half of their great words, but everything that's been said prior to this I can agree with, which is surprising because I usually disagree with everything I hear. Mass incarceration. My good friend Michelle Alexander, you have to read her book, The New Jim Crow. You also, and please get my book too, Power Concedes Nothing. As we're reading too. When you have a big system, you have to think big to unravel it, right? So, this mass incarceration system whereby we hire low-income whites to cage black and brown men, and poor white men, because they're disproportionately in this machine as well. And you look at the drivers of that. There is a socioeconomic system wrapped around the prisons. There's a whole industrial complex tied to our prisons. Now, I'm going to share a story with you to kind of bring this around to the level of the individual, what the individual can do. And then I'll talk about the systemic policy stuff, which is what you hear Attorney General Holder and Barack Obama starting to talk about. Harry Belafonte was up at Jim Brown's house, and Jim Brown has this marvelous program called the American Program. And it's a program of ex-gangsters who dedicate themselves to peace in the neighborhoods they used to ravage. There are gang intervention workers here tonight. Please raise your hands. Please give them a round of applause. These are some of the greatest people in our community. They've left that life and they're atoning for what they did before by making our kids safe passages, all kinds of parks programs. They're putting their lives on the line to keep our kids safe in gang zones. And so Jim Brown pioneered one of the key programs that does this. And he does a lot more than that, but it's one of the things he does. His American program is in the prisons, and it teaches in the community. Harry Belafonte, who was one of my best friends and my very best client, came out here, and I'm showing him the prisons in Chino, the women's prison, the men's prison, and the children's prison, and the whole families out there in Chino in these prisons, as some of you well know. And we went up to the Pitches Detention Center. And this was the day Harry was not happy. He really didn't get the prisons until I started dragging him into the bowels of these terrible places. And he just saw the bodies stacked up 5 beds high, black and brown bodies. And he was just shaken by the sight. So we get back to Jim Brown's beautiful house up at the top of Sunset. And there's a room full of African American, mainly rolling 60s Crips, ex-gangsters. These are big guys, they're big dudes. A lot of them have done hard time. They're a hard crowd. Harry walks into the room. He's looking very pensive, and I'm kind of nervous because I don't know what Harry's going to say. He gets up, and he looks at this room full of ex-gangsters, ex-convicts. I mean, you know, they're peacemakers and whatnot, but you don't understand the backgrounds here. These are hard people, hard men. And Harry looks at them. And I'm starting to get scared because I can see Harry shaking with rage. Harry is enraged, and he's about to let some stuff hit. He looks at this room of 60 ex-gangsters, and he says to them, How dare you? How dare you give this system what it needs to imprison me? How dare you? We spent 300 years, we shed blood. People died to get us out of chains. And you willingly put yourself back in a cage? How dare you? And he went on to talk about how in the civil rights movement, everything was strategic. Every move made. Rosa Parks didn't just get tired. That was a whole campaign he was planned. And he went on to tell them that they had a responsibility to their ancestors to avoid a cage. They had no right to give the system what it needed to lock them up. What does the system need, Harry said? He said it needs your criminality and it needs your stupidity. And you give them both. How dare you? We bled and died to make you free. And you put yourself back in a cage. I'm not standing for it. I will not stand for it. I had to breathe. The whole time he was talking, I just forgot to inhale and exhale because I'm wondering whether we were going to make it out of the room alive because I didn't know how angry he was going to make people. But when he got done going through the civil rights movement, how strategic it was, how much blood got shed for it, Bo Taylor, the wonderful Bo Taylor, stood up, didn't even clap. He just stood up in silent attribution and admiration. Jim Brown stood up, and every man in that room stood up and saluted Harry. Now, at that level, what Harry was saying was, you can stop this mass incarceration machinery tomorrow if you want to. If we put our heads together, if these gangs would get together and put all that macho testosterone energy into challenging each other to stay out of jail, we'd shut it down tomorrow. That's what Harry was saying. It's in your power. He said, the keys to your prison are in your hands. Use them. Because what he meant by that was that if we say, not another kid, you don't get another one of our children. You're not putting them in a cage, you're not putting them anywhere, except school. If we were to make that a mandate and to actually make that a community mandate, do you understand they would have no one to put